Hi, and welcome to Let's Talk Sports podcast with me, Lucia. Today we are going to talk about the MVP race for the NFL, AB to the Bucks, the Cowboys melting down at every single turn, the Dodgers win, and the NBA start date, draft, etc. So let's get started. Is Tom Brady the frontrunner for the MVP? At 43 years old, let me just say that again. He is 43. And he is doing things that no 43-year-old has ever done before. He is truly the greatest quarterback of all time. I genuinely believe that he will win the MVP this year. And also, I think the Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl. I've totally thrown out either the Saints, the Seahawks, or the Packers. I think it's the Bucks. The NFC truly is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' place to lose. I think that Tom Brady now is a frontrunner for the MVP. I also think that Russell Wilson has thrown away his MVP. With those 3 interceptions, I think that has officially disqualified him from being the MVP of the league, which is upsetting because I would love Russell Wilson to win MVP. I'm a huge Russell Wilson fan, and more importantly, I'm a huge fan of his wife, Sierra, who I think is one of the most beautiful women that I've ever seen in my entire life, and happy birthday to her for this week. Anyway, now moving on to another addition from the Buccaneers, AB, Antonio Brown. Wow. Can the Bucks get any better? I think that the only way that they'll get any better is if they add Thanos to the whole entire place, and then they'll be the best team in the world. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a super team. They remind me of the Golden State Warriors in the way that they've just got every single weapon that you could possibly imagine. They've got AB, they've got Scotty, they've got Gronk, they've got Tom, and they've got OJ Howard, who's currently injured, but wow, that is incredible. Their roster is absolutely bananas. Like, absolutely bananas. I can't wait to see AB in his first game. It's not going to be this week with them versus the Giants because they've got to go through COVID-19 protocols, which, by the way, I'm a little bit done with this lockdown and I want to get out of this country. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Um, sorry, personal aside. Anyway, the Bucks are so incredibly talented and incredibly loaded. And if they lose at any point, it's going to be an absolute shock. Now let's move on to a team that is currently going through a crisis of identity, a crisis of leadership, and a crisis just all around. And ironically enough, it's known as America's team. It's the Dallas Cowboys. How many times do they snap the ball and then the Cowboys defense just falls asleep? The backup quarterback, Andy Dalton, gets hit and he's out for the rest of the season, and nobody from the Dallas Cowboys goes up and defends his honor. I'm sorry, but when I used to play team sports, if somebody attacked somebody, I was going to go right up to them and get in their face. Because you don't do that to another team member. What is going on with this organization? I think the fish rots from the head. Jerry Jones needs to step down as general manager and just hire someone in to let the team run. Just step back and put your ego to the side and let somebody else run the country. Oh, no, run the Cowboys. Sorry. That's a little bit. The Dallas Cowboys are like a country, though, because they've got the biggest fan base in professional football, and it is like a country. Anyway, let me know if you've got any ideas in how to fix the Cowboys. I think Mike McCarthy's done as the Cowboys head coach. I think he's done. If it's not by the end of the year, it's going to be sooner than that. Jerry has not been known to fire coaches in the middle of the season, but I would fire him today. Like this, like in another couple of minutes, I would fire him. Anyway, let's move on to the MLB. The Dodgers have won the World Series. Yay! I'm very, very excited. Tinseltown has turned into Titletown, with the Dodgers and the Lakers both winning titles for LA. And here's the interesting thing about LA. As I heard the other day a sports broadcaster, Max Kellerman, on First Take, he described LA as a whole bunch of different cities. Although that it is a diverse city, there's a whole bunch of different like boroughs around, and there's no great infrastructure to connect them all. There's no great transport structure. There's nothing like the subway in New York. So it's not really a melting pot. But they all come together to either Dodger Stadium or Staples Center to watch their teams. And that's how they get connected. Their teams are their connection. And I think that LA is going to be okay now that the teams are winning. Because the teams have a lot of pressure on them. When they're winning, LA is a great place to be. The first time I went to LA, it was after the Lakers had won the championship in 2010, and it was an amazing city to be in. Then I go back in 2016, and it felt different. It didn't feel like there was any chance of winning, and I would have loved to have been there now, just to feel the atmosphere. And hopefully I get there soon. Although the way that our Prime Minister is going, we are never going to be allowed to leave this country, ever. But that's neither here nor there. In talking about that, let's talk about the NBA start date, draft, and free agency. So it's going to be a whirlwind. There's no mistake about it. There's going to be a start date that has been suggested of the 22nd of December, which is just before Christmas Day. What the plan is so to have a 72 game schedule so that they can finish at around the same time in June, so that the 2021-2022 season can start on schedule. And look, we all have to take sacrifices during this time. I think that would be a great idea. And I understand the Lakers and the Heat will be at the biggest disadvantage. But I've heard through a lot of grapevines is that the teams that don't have a huge that weren't asked to go into the bubble are chomping at the bit to go back playing basketball. So that I think will be something that we've got to look out for. The NBA draft is planning to happen on the 18th of November. And then shortly after that, on the 20th of November, is when free agency starts. And then training camps open December 1. That's the plan for so far. So it's going to be a very quick whirlwind experience. And listen, everything at the moment has been a whirlwind. Like, we don't know what's going on with the world. So people do have to take sacrifices, and they do have to begin to start realizing that it's more than just them. It's sponsors, it's their paycheck. It's all of that. So yeah, I will give you more on that when the CBA comes out. The players are meeting this Friday, which is tomorrow, American time. So I'm very, 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 very looking forward to finding out what's going on there. Now, in the week 8 of the NFL, we have the Panthers versus the Falcons. The Panthers are going to win. The Falcons invent new ways to lose every single week. It is so it's so funny. They just find new ways to lose. We've got the Packers versus the Vikings. I'm going to go with the Packers. We've got the Bengals versus the Titans. I'm going with the Titans. We've got the Chiefs versus the Jets. If the Chiefs don't win this, they don't deserve to be an NFL team because the Jets aren't an NFL team. We've got the Lions versus the Colts. I'm going with the Colts. I've not heard much about the Colts, which is very interesting because they were a team that we used to hear about all the time. But yeah, I'm not hearing enough about the Colts, and that's quite sad because I like the town. I like the city of Indiana, like I do. Got the Ravens versus the Steelers. I'm going with the Steelers. They're 6-0. I think. Actually, I'm actually going to go with the Ravens because I do think that the Steelers are due for a loss, and I think it will come at the hands of the Ravens. Got the Dolphins versus the Rams. Now, a couple of years ago, this would be a non-matchup, but this is actually important. The Dolphins could actually go to the playoffs this year. Like that is incredible. If you knew last year that this year the Dolphins could go into the playoffs from last year's performance, you'd be shocked. And the Rams, oh my God, they're so good. LA teams are on fire at the moment. The Dolphins are starting Tua Tagovailoa, which I would have waited an extra week, but because he's going up against Aaron Donald, who is the Defensive Player of the Year and is awesome. But yeah, that is incredible. Then we've got the Bills versus the Pats. I've got the Bills. This is a real changing of the guard game for me because the Pats have held on to the division for such a long time. They had 10 years of winning the division. And I think this year, it's the Bills division. The Bills are going to the playoffs. I don't see the Pats going to the playoffs. I actually don't see the Pats doing anything. See the Pats winning possibly 2 more games because they've got to face the Jets and the Jets stink. But yeah, I don't see them going any further than that. Got the Raiders versus the Browns. I'm going with the Raiders because I don't trust the Browns, even though that Odell is now injured and out for the season, and Baker plays better with OBJ not on the field. I'm like, that's confusing to me because OBJ is one of the best receivers that I've ever seen. But that's just something internal, I think. The Broncos versus the Chargers, I'm going with the Chargers. We've got the Bears versus the Saints. I'm going with the Saints, even though I think the Bears are okay. We've got the Seahawks versus the 49ers. Now this game, although I have the Bucks versus the Niners now in the NFC Championship game, this could be a preview to the NFC Championship game. So I'm very looking forward to watching it. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners come out with a win because they've been very good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that game. Got the Eagles versus the Cowboys in the who cares game because I don't care about any of these teams. If the Eagles lose, Carson Wentz has lost his job because Carson Wentz is on the verge of getting benched. We've got the Giants versus the Buccaneers. Now, the Bucks are going to run away with this because the Giants suck. My Giants suck. I had hope, but last week all my hope was gone. So they're the matchups coming up this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to that. Let me know in the comment section down below which team and which game you are looking forward to the most. That is all for this week's episode of Let's Talk Sports podcast with me, Lucia. So I'll catch you all next week. Bye.